Let's go. Hey, Australia, Cody Rhodes here, gearing up for the biggest WrestleMania event ever. What makes any story, a great story in any form of entertainment or in sport is that reality that can be linked to it. In the case of my own, everything that you see every week is real. There's a suspension of disbelief in what we do for sure, but with me, everything I do is real. Everything we're talking about is real, the good stuff and the bad stuff. I also think that it's a wrestler and a WWE superstar's job to tell a story within the ropes. And that's an area where we often forget about those stories themselves. And if you look back at, greats like Bret the Hitman Hart, for example, he wasn't always telling his story on the microphone in an interview or a promo. It definitely wasn't in a backstage segment. He was telling it in the ring, bell to bell. And that's an area you want to excel at both, because there's many audiences for this: casual audience, hardcore audience, fans who have loved it for a long time. And that's an area you want to really look at the details in both and try to excel at. I think tag wrestling, one of the things that's really can be beautiful about it is the concept of the fresh man or the fresh woman. The idea that someone has been on the apron and they're chomping at the bit, and that they'd like to get in there and it's not unlike a power play in hockey even. They'd like to get in there and change the dynamic of the match. And that's something, when people are doing it at their best, you see a lot more of. Look at NXT right now. There's a team that's Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly is actually pretty old school as well in their approach to what we do. And there's someone I can see really on the come up when it comes to tag wrestling. Singles wrestling, it's really, it's the bread and butter of the sports entertainment world in terms of, are you able to go not just on the microphone? Are you able to go bell to bell? Is your conditioning there? Is the aesthetic there? We're judged on a pretty harsh scale, but also the rewards are worth it. And I was able to really bring in, from a singles capacity, a lot of what I would say is an underground style. I don't mean that it's actually underground. I just mean the things I learned while I was away. It's like being a country music star and then going out there and discovering punk music, for example, and trying to take that and incorporate it into what you do. And for me, that's been very helpful to bring what I learned and continue to learn as we move forward. Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania was my very first singles match on a pay-per-view. I'd been in main events before as part of Legacy, but never a singles match on a pay-per-view, and certainly not on a WrestleMania. I would have given my left hand a year before to earn that opportunity, and to have it against Rey, and Rey being on the tip of everyone's tongue right now, being a Hall of Famer, the first announced to be in the Hall of Fame this year. That moment, defeating Rey Mysterio in my hometown at a WrestleMania, was one of the things that shot me up the ladder, and perhaps shot me up too quickly, because then I got knocked down a few pegs, and then that created a lot of my angst and my frustration, which would ultimately cause me to leave. But that Rey match, I'll thank that man every single day for just standing across from me. And doing it in multiple settings, and doing it at a WrestleMania, and trusting me to be his opponent, winning the Intercontinental Championship, and then taking the Intercontinental Championship and trying to get it back on WrestleMania, which we were able to do, taking the Intercontinental Championship, restoring the retro title belt, the white strap and the retro design. I thought, if anything, when I look back at that, it was a time where I earned the trust of perhaps a new audience, or perhaps the most hardcore audience, because they knew I had their best interests in mind when it comes to that title belt and its design and its place on the card, and my efforts to make its place on the card special. You hear workhorse, but not just that, a great bell-to-bell story. Well, we looked at the story as far as, that I came out the night after WrestleMania in Dallas and told everybody about it being 8 years old, and seeing that photo and the conversation I had with my father about it. And that's a very real as it gets story. My documentary team's been fun in terms of following it everywhere they go. It doesn't really it completes something that started in the late 70s in terms of him winning that match but not winning the title. But also, it really doesn't so much contribute to the Rhodes legacy as it contributes to the legacy of myself, of Cody Rhodes. Dusty wasn't able to get it, and Dustin wasn't able to get it. And one of those things about being a second or third generation, it's not a secret because I say it all the time now, but you want to be just as good as they were, if not better. And you want to do that with your heart open and positivity, and it be meaningful. And that would be the time to say, hey, you guys did this, much appreciated. You guys did that, much respect, but I was able to do this.